Welcome to Trend Reddit, where I share interesting, useful, and inspiring content. Let's explore the world together through the videos I create. Don't forget to click the follow button so you don't miss anything new. Thank you for visiting and hope we have great experiences together. Colin stood nervously outside the bustling entrance of the middle school gymnasium, his heart racing with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. It had been a decade since he'd last walked these familiar halls, and now, as he prepared to face his former classmates, a rush of memories flooded back. The laughter, the friendships, but more vividly, the bullying. His thoughts lingered on Katie, the girl who had made his middle school life a living hell. She had a sharp tongue and an even sharper smile, one that seemed to cut through his confidence like a knife. The reunion was supposed to be a celebration, a chance to reconnect and reminisce. But for Colin, it felt more like walking into a lion's den. He had spent years trying to overcome the insecurities that stemmed from his childhood, especially after the death of his father. His mother had worked tirelessly to provide for him, sacrificing her own dreams to ensure he had the opportunities he deserved. It was her unwavering support that drove him to excel academically, even when the taunts from classmates threatened to pull him down. Taking a deep breath, Colin entered the gym. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter and chatter, a stark contrast to the silence he had felt in those lonely years. He caught sight of familiar faces, some filled with nostalgia, others with indifference. Samuel, his old friend who had organized the event, approached him with a warm smile, breaking through his apprehension. "Colin! You made it!" Samuel exclaimed, pulling him into a quick embrace. "It's good to see you. How's life treating you?" "Pretty well, actually. Moved to England a few years back, graduated from Oxford," Colin replied, trying to match Samuel's enthusiasm. "Wow, Oxford! That's impressive," Samuel said, his eyes widening with genuine admiration. "You should catch up with everyone. It's like we've all grown into different people." As Colin scanned the room, his heart sank when he spotted Katie across the gym. She had transformed into a stunning beauty, her confidence radiating as she chatted with a group of classmates. Yet, beneath that glamorous exterior, Colin couldn't shake off the memories of her cruelty. Katie's laughter echoed in his ears, a sound he had longed to forget. Just as he turned to walk away, she locked eyes with him and sauntered over, her presence commanding attention. "Colin! Look who it is," she said with a smirk, her tone dripping with playful arrogance. "You've made it back from England. Not bad for a middle school nobody." Colin felt a mix of anger and embarrassment wash over him, but he forced himself to stand tall. "Yeah, well, some of us actually made something of ourselves." Katie raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh? Is that so? I bet you can't solve the master demon then," she challenged, her eyes glinting with mischief. "If you can solve it, you can do whatever you want with me." "What's the master demon?" Colin asked, feigning nonchalance while feeling the old competitive fire ignite within him. "It's a math problem, super complex. I used to love watching you struggle with math back in the day." "It's time for a little nostalgia," she taunted, her arrogance on full display. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder as Samuel warned Colin about the problem's difficulty. Colin felt a surge of determination. He wouldn't let her ridicule him again. "Fine. Bring it on," Colin replied, confidence spilling into his voice. He borrowed a piece of paper from a nearby table and began to jot down the numbers and equations, his mind racing as he focused. Katie smirked, crossing her arms, clearly enjoying this moment. As Colin scribbled down his solution, he could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, waiting with bated breath. After a few tense moments, he paused, looking over his work one last time before writing down the final answer. He glanced up, his heart pounding as he declared, "Done." Katie's expression shifted from amusement to surprise as he confidently presented his answer. The crowd buzzed with excitement, some whispering among themselves, others leaning in to catch a glimpse of what was unfolding. Colin took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift ever so slightly. "I graduated from Oxford after moving to England." My mother remarried the CEO of a major company, which helped fund my education. Katie's facade began to crack as she processed his words, the realization of his success hitting her hard. Colin could see the frustration etched across her face, contrasting sharply with her previous bravado. But before he could savor his moment of triumph, a drink accidentally spilled onto Katie, soaking her dress. The crowd gasped, and laughter erupted as Lily, Katie's friend, couldn't help but mock her. "Oops. Looks like your fashion sense isn't the only thing slipping, Katie. How's that failing company of yours?" Lily taunted, her words laced with venom. Embarrassed and angry, Katie's facade shattered completely. "Shut up, Lily. This isn't funny," she snapped, pushing her way through the crowd to get away from the mocking laughter. Colin stepped aside, the energy of the room shifting as he followed Katie. "Hey, wait," he called after her, concern replacing the adrenaline of their previous encounter. Katie turned, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What do you want, Colin?" she asked, her tone now softer, more vulnerable. "I just wanted to talk," he said, trying to bridge the chasm that had existed between them for so long. As they moved away from the crowd, Colin felt the weight of their shared history. He couldn't ignore the pain behind Katie's bravado, the insecurities that had driven her to bully him all those years ago. "I'm sorry for how I treated you back then," she confessed, her voice shaky. I don't know. I guess I was scared of not living up to everyone's expectations, especially being the CEO's daughter." Colin took a moment to process her words. "It's okay. We all have our insecurities. I just want you to know that you can grow from the past, just like I did." For the first time, Colin saw a flicker of genuine remorse in Katie's eyes. Maybe, just maybe, this reunion could lead to something more than just painful memories. Colin's heart raced as he and Katie stepped away from the crowd, the noise of laughter and chatter fading into the background. The humiliation of her spill lingered in the air, but Colin sensed a shift in the atmosphere between them. They found a quieter corner of the gym, where the music was muted, and he could finally see the cracks in Katie's confident facade. As they stood there, Colin couldn't help but reflect on his difficult childhood. After his father's death, life had taken a turn he hadn't anticipated. His mother had worked tirelessly to provide for him, often sacrificing her own needs for his education and well-being. The memories of her late nights and early mornings flooded back, reminding him of the strength she had instilled in him. She had always encouraged him to rise above the bullying, to focus on his studies, and to dream big. "Colin, can I just say, you surprised me back there," Katie began, her voice softer now. "I didn't expect you to actually solve the master demon. I thought it would be an impossible challenge for you, just like it was for most of us back then." "Yeah, well, things change," Colin replied, trying to maintain a cool demeanor despite the warmth growing in his chest. "I had to find my way after everything that happened." Katie shifted her weight from one foot to the other, the weight of the past hanging heavy between them. "You know, I often think about how I treated people in middle school. It's something I regret," she confessed, her gaze falling to the floor. "I was just so focused on fitting in, on being perfect, that I didn't see how my actions affected others. If you think the story is good, leave a comment with the number 1, and if not, please subscribe to the channel. If the video is helpful to you, don't forget to hit the like button." "I remember," Colin said, his voice steady. "It was tough to watch. But it wasn't just you. Everyone wanted to fit in, even if it meant tearing someone else down." Katie met his gaze, the vulnerability in her eyes palpable. "I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be someone important, to show everyone I was more than just the CEO's daughter. But instead, I became a bully." Colin could see the weight of her words, the regret and self-loathing that had accumulated over the years. "I think we all get caught up in those things when we're young." "I did too," he admitted. "After my dad died, I felt like I had to prove myself, to show I could make something of myself despite everything." Katie nodded, the understanding between them deepening. "You did, Colin. You graduated from Oxford, while I'm still here, struggling to keep my family's company afloat. My parents expect me to excel, to be the perfect daughter, and I thought being mean would help me rise above it all. Colin couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. Maybe it's not too late for you to find your own path, Katie. You don't have to follow in anyone's footsteps. You can create your own. As the reunion continued in the background, Katie took a deep breath, as if gathering her thoughts. You really think so? She asked, her tone tentative. Absolutely, he replied. If I can overcome my past, so can you. Everyone makes mistakes, it's how we learn from them that truly matters. Just then, the tension of the moment was shattered as Lily reappeared, her voice dripping with mockery. Look at you two, having a moment. It's cute how you're bonding over your sad little lives. Colin bristled at the interruption, but Katie raised her hand to stop him. Lily, enough. This is between me and Colin. If you can't be supportive, then maybe you should just go. Lily huffed and crossed her arms, glaring at Katie. You really think you can just ignore the past? You're still that bully deep down, Katie. You can't just pretend to be someone you're not. Katie's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. I'm trying to change, Lily. Maybe you should try it too, instead of being so bitter. Colin watched as Katie stood her ground, feeling a newfound respect for her. There was strength in her voice that hadn't been there before, and he couldn't help but admire her determination to break free from her past. Colin, I know I've made mistakes, Katie said, turning back to him, her voice softer but resolute. I want to change. I want to prove to myself that I can be more than just the girl who bullied you. Then let's start fresh, Colin suggested, his heart racing with the possibilities. Maybe we can even work together. I have some ideas for a consulting business that could help you with the company. You have the drive, I have the skills. Katie's eyes lit up at the suggestion. You really think we could make that work? Absolutely, Colin replied, feeling a sense of excitement building between them. You know this industry better than anyone. Together, we could bring something new to the table. The thought of partnering with Katie both thrilled and terrified him. They were once adversaries, but now, they stood on the brink of something entirely new. As the noise of the reunion faded further into the background, Colin felt a sense of hope blossoming within him. Maybe this was the fresh start they both needed. Katie looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and determination in her gaze. Thank you, Colin. I won't let you down. This is my chance to turn things around. Colin smiled, realizing that despite their rocky past, they were both ready to embrace a brighter future. They had been given a second chance, and together, they could overcome their histories and build something meaningful. As they discussed their ideas, Colin felt the old barriers between them melting away, replaced by a newfound connection. In that moment, he understood that growth often comes from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, even former bullies can become allies on the road to redemption. Colin's heart raced as he prepared to present his solution to the master demon. The tension in the air was palpable, and all eyes were on him. He could feel the weight of expectations pressing down, not just from the crowd but from Katie as well. This was his moment to prove himself, to show everyone, including her, that he was no longer the shy, bullied kid from middle school. With a deep breath, Colin stepped forward, clutching the piece of paper where he had painstakingly written his calculations. He glanced around the room, seeing the mixture of skepticism and curiosity on his former classmates' faces. Even Samuel, who had been his friend, wore an expression of apprehension, as if he too doubted Colin's ability to solve the problem. All right, Colin said, trying to sound confident, even though his palms were sweating. The master demon, it's not impossible. It just requires a different way of thinking. Katie crossed her arms, an amused smile on her lips. Let's see what you've got, genius, she challenged, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The crowd leaned in, excitement buzzing through the air. Colin focused on the paper, blocking out everything else. He had spent countless hours practicing complex equations and sharpening his math skills since moving to England. This was his chance to demonstrate that he had come a long way since those days of being the underdog. He began to explain his thought process, his voice steadying as he delved into the intricacies of the problem. "First, we have to break it down into manageable parts," he said, sketching out the initial steps of his solution. "You see, it's all about finding the right approach. If we isolate the variables." As he spoke, he could feel the crowd's attention shifting. Some classmates whispered to each other, while others watched with wide eyes, hanging on his every word. Katie's earlier bravado began to wane, and Colin felt a surge of determination course through him. With each line he wrote, Colin unraveled the complexities of the equation, the symbols and numbers dancing across the page as he laid out his reasoning. He could hear whispers of disbelief mingled with murmurs of approval. He caught Samuel nodding in the corner, a proud smile breaking across his face. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Colin put his pen down and took a step back, revealing the final answer. He felt a rush of adrenaline as he turned to face the crowd, his heart pounding in his chest. "And that's how you solve the master demon." The gym erupted into a mixture of astonishment and applause. Colin beamed, a sense of pride swelling within him. He had done it. He had solved the problem that had once seemed insurmountable, a feat he had never imagined achieving when he was younger. Katie's expression shifted from disbelief to frustration as she realized the implications of his success. "You actually did it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, almost as if she couldn't comprehend what had just happened. "Yeah, I did," Colin replied, trying to suppress the grin on his face. The thrill of victory was palpable, and he felt a sense of closure wash over him. He was no longer the target of her taunts, he was someone who had proven his worth. As the crowd buzzed with excitement, Colin took a moment to gather his thoughts. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a new chapter in his life, one that was filled with possibilities. "I graduated from Oxford after moving to England," he continued, feeling the need to share his journey. "My mother remarried the CEO of a major company, which enabled me to pursue my education. I've worked hard to get to where I am today." The crowd listened intently, and he could see the mix of admiration and envy in their eyes. Colin had risen above his past, and in doing so, he had not only transformed his own life but also challenged Katie's perception of him. But Katie's frustration was evident. "This doesn't change anything, Colin," she said, her voice rising slightly. "You may have solved the math problem, but that doesn't mean you're better than me." Colin took a step closer, meeting her gaze directly. "It's not about being better, Katie. It's about growth. I've learned to overcome my challenges, just like I hope you will." The tension between them crackled, a potent mixture of unresolved feelings and unspoken truths. Colin could see the walls around Katie beginning to crumble as she grappled with her insecurities. "Maybe I underestimated you," Katie admitted, her voice softening. "I was just so used to being the one in control, the one who always had to be the best. Seeing you succeed, it makes me question everything I thought I knew." Colin felt a flicker of empathy for her. "You don't have to compete with me, Katie. You can create your own path. You have the potential to be great, and I believe you can do it without tearing others down." Just as the atmosphere began to shift, a drink spilled onto Katie's dress from a careless classmate who brushed past her. The icy drink splattered across her fabric, soaking it and drawing gasps from the crowd. Katie's cheeks burned with embarrassment, and Colin could sense her anger bubbling to the surface. "This is ridiculous," she shouted, her composure cracking. Lily, sensing the moment, couldn't resist. "Wow, Katie, looks like your luck's just as bad as your business. How's that declining company treating you?" The laughter rippled through the crowd, and Colin could see Katie's frustration boiling over. He stepped closer to her, ready to offer support, but she was already fuming, the pressure of the moment overwhelming. "Get off my back, Lily!" Katie snapped, her voice filled with rage as she pushed past her friend and stormed away from the crowd. Colin followed her, his heart racing as he sensed the urgency of the moment. He knew that beneath Katie's bravado lay a person grappling with self-doubt and insecurity, and he felt a strange sense of responsibility to help her navigate this turmoil. As they stepped away from the throng of classmates, Colin turned to her. "Katie, wait. I didn't mean to upset you. I just wanted to show everyone I was worth something, she said, her voice cracking. And now I'm just a mess. Colin reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. You are worth something, Katie. It's time to let go of the past and embrace who you are now. In that moment, something shifted between them. The remnants of their childhood rivalry faded, replaced by an understanding that neither of them had expected to find. They were both on the verge of change, ready to confront the challenges ahead together. As the tension from the crowd began to dissipate, Colin found himself standing beside Katie, who was visibly shaken after the incident with the drink. The noise of the reunion faded into a distant hum, leaving them in a quiet bubble where the weight of their past and the uncertainty of the future loomed large. Katie's frustration lingered, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I can't believe this is happening. I finally try to make a change, and I end up looking like a fool, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Colin felt a pang of sympathy. It's just a drink, Katie. It doesn't define you. You're more than what happened here tonight. She let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. Is that what you think? That I can just brush this off? It's not just about the drink, Colin. It's everything. My company's struggling, my reputation is shot, and now I've made a complete fool of myself in front of everyone. Listen, Colin said, taking a step closer to her, everyone has their ups and downs. This reunion isn't the end of your story. You can still turn things around. You're capable of so much more than you realize. Katie looked at him, her expression softening, but the hurt was still evident in her eyes. You make it sound so easy. But how do I get past the mistakes I've made? How do I show people that I'm different now? Start by being honest with yourself and others, Colin replied, hoping to inspire her. It's okay to admit your past, but it doesn't have to dictate your future. You have the power to redefine who you are. Just then, Lily reappeared, her smug expression unchanged. What's this? The two former rivals bonding over tragedy? How touching, she said, crossing her arms. Katie shot her a glare. Lily, just go away. This isn't about you. Lily's smile faltered, but she persisted. I'm just saying, it's kind of pathetic, isn't it? You need Colin to feel better about yourself? Colin stepped forward, feeling a surge of protective instinct for Katie. You don't know what you're talking about, Lily. Katie is trying to make a change, and it's more than anything you've ever done. Lily scoffed, rolling her eyes. Good luck with that, Katie. I guess some people just need a crutch to stand tall. As Lily walked away, Colin turned back to Katie, who seemed to be processing everything. Don't let her get to you. She's just projecting her own insecurities. You're taking a step toward growth, and that's what matters. Katie sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. I just don't know if I can do this. The pressure is overwhelming, and I feel like I'm constantly letting people down. Colin took a moment to gather his thoughts. You don't have to do this alone. I'll help you if you want. We can brainstorm ideas for your company, and I can share what I've learned since moving to England. Really? You'd do that for me? Katie asked, surprise lacing her voice. Of course. We're in this together now, right? It's about time we stop being adversaries and start supporting one another, he replied, a small smile breaking across his face. Katie studied him, a flicker of hope lighting her expression. You're serious? Absolutely, Colin affirmed. I know how hard it is to confront your past, but I also know that facing it head-on is the only way to move forward. As the weight of their conversation began to lift, Katie took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening. Okay, let's do it. Let's turn this mess into something we can both be proud of. Colin couldn't help but grin. That's the spirit. I believe in you, Katie. Just then, the reunion festivities began to shift again. Laughter erupted from the main area as someone started a group photo. Come on, you two. Join us. Samuel called out, waving them over. Katie hesitated for a moment, her insecurities bubbling back to the surface. I don't think I'm ready for that. I mean, after everything. Trust me, it'll be fun, Colin encouraged, nudging her gently. It's just a picture. It's about celebrating where we are now, not where we've been. Taking a deep breath, Katie nodded, and they walked together toward the gathering crowd. As they approached, Samuel greeted them with an infectious smile. There you are. We were starting to worry you'd miss all the fun. Colin felt a surge of warmth as he joined his old friends, and for the first time, he noticed Katie smiling genuinely. The atmosphere had shifted again, the previous tension replaced by a sense of camaraderie. All right, everyone, say cheese. Samuel announced, positioning the group for the photo. Colin and Katie stood side by side, and in that moment, he felt a sense of unity, a connection that had been forged through their shared experiences. Cheese, they all shouted, and as the camera clicked, Colin realized that this moment symbolized something profound. They were no longer defined by their past but were stepping into a new chapter together. After the picture was taken, the crowd began to disperse, and Colin turned to Katie. How do you feel? Surprisingly good, she admitted, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. I never thought I'd say that after a reunion. Sometimes, facing our past is the first step toward a brighter future, Colin said, feeling the weight of their previous conversation lift. I'm really proud of you for taking that step. Katie's expression softened, gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you for being here, Colin. It means a lot. They lingered for a moment, caught in a shared understanding that transcended their previous rivalry. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were no longer alone in it. Together, they could confront their challenges and turn the page on their past, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As the reunion continued to wind down, Colin and Katie found a quiet corner where they could talk more openly. The atmosphere was lighter now, filled with laughter and the warm glow of newfound connections. But amidst the festivities, they both felt the weight of what lay ahead. I've been thinking about what you said, Katie began, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. About starting fresh and creating something new together. I want to pursue this consulting business idea. Colin's heart raced at her words. I'm glad to hear that. We can brainstorm how to combine our skills and experiences. I've seen what your family business has gone through, and I think we can really make a difference. Katie smiled, the hint of her former arrogance replaced by genuine enthusiasm. You know, I've always been afraid that I wouldn't be able to measure up to my parents' expectations. But now, I feel like I have a chance to carve my own path. I don't want to be defined by my past mistakes anymore. That's the spirit. Colin replied, excitement bubbling up within him. We can create a brand that focuses on empowering others to rise above their circumstances, just like we've both done. It's not just about business, it's about making a real impact. Katie nodded, her eyes shining with determination. I want our consulting firm to be a safe space for people, a place where they can find guidance and support as they navigate their own challenges. I want to help others realize their potential, just like you helped me see mine tonight. The two of them began discussing potential business names and ideas, their enthusiasm infectious as they envisioned a future filled with promise. Colin felt invigorated by the possibilities ahead, the tension and uncertainty of their pasts now transformed into a foundation for their partnership. As the reunion drew to a close, they stood outside the school, the cool night air wrapping around them like a blanket. The laughter from inside faded, and the stars twinkled above, a reminder that change was possible even for people with histories as tangled as theirs. Thanks for believing in me, Colin, Katie said, her voice sincere. I don't think I would have had the courage to take this step without your support. Colin smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. You did the hard part. You took the first step toward change. I'm just here to help you navigate the rest. Katie laughed lightly, the sound warm and genuine. Maybe we can even turn this whole experience into a workshop for our clients, how to overcome bullying and rise above insecurities. It could be our signature program. I love that idea. Colin exclaimed, his mind racing with the potential. We can share our stories and show others that they're not alone in their struggles. There's so much we can do together. the excitement of their plans ignited a spark between them, and in that moment, Colin realized how far they had come. Once enemies, now allies, once filled with insecurities, now driven by ambition. As they continued to brainstorm, Colin glanced at Katie, his heart swelling with a mix of admiration and affection. There was a strength within her that he hadn't seen before, a resolve that came from facing her past and choosing to move forward. "You know, I used to dread running into you," Colin admitted, a light chuckle escaping his lips. "But now, I can't imagine this journey without you." Katie grinned, a playful glimmer in her eyes. "Who would have thought we'd go from rivals to partners in a matter of hours?" "Life is full of surprises," Colin said, shaking his head in disbelief. "And sometimes, the people we least expect can turn out to be the ones who help us grow the most." Their conversation flowed easily, the bond between them solidifying as they discussed everything from marketing strategies to the kind of impact they wanted to have on their community. Colin found himself inspired by Katie's ideas, her vision for the future resonating deeply within him. As they finalized their plans for the coming weeks, a sense of optimism enveloped them. They were embarking on a new adventure, one that held the promise of growth, redemption, and the chance to make a difference. With a shared sense of purpose, Colin and Katie exchanged contact information, vowing to stay in touch as they prepared to take their first steps into this new chapter. "Let's meet next week to start working on our business plan," Katie suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I can't wait to see what we come up with together." "Me too," Colin replied, his heart filled with anticipation. "This is just the beginning." As they parted ways, Colin felt a sense of clarity wash over him. He had not only reclaimed his own story but had also helped someone else rewrite theirs. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but he felt ready to face them alongside Katie. Reflecting on how far he had come, Colin smiled to himself, knowing that the struggles and experiences they had faced had led them to this moment. He had transformed from the shy, bullied kid into someone who could inspire change. And Katie, the once arrogant girl, was now a partner who shared his vision for the future. Together, they would tackle whatever came their way, learning from their pasts while creating a new narrative filled with hope and possibility. As Colin walked away from the school, he couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only just beginning. A bright future awaited them, one filled with promise, support, and the strength of their newfound partnership. If you think the story is good, leave a comment with the number 1, and if not, please subscribe to the channel. If the video is helpful to you, don't forget to hit the like button.